Hey, welcome back to another episode of Hey Jack, Leadership Reflections with Jack Nehlig. I'm Jack's co-host, Trevor Robinson, and today we are bringing you a very special episode. Jack and I got together, we were discussing and reviewing the first 10 episodes that we've officially crossed that mark of, and we are planning the next several episodes, and there was a common thread that kept popping up during that conversation, and that thread was the concept of gratitude, and how thankful and grateful we are to you guys, the listeners, for the support and the feedback that you've given us thus far. We've received tons of messages, we've seen the comments, we've had phone calls, we've had text messages. Ultimately, we've been blown away by the impact that this podcast has been having in such a short time span. And that got Jack and I thinking. There's a lot of episodes that we've created thus far, and while we try to keep these episodes short, if there is a new listener that's just discovering the Hey Jack podcast, we want to let them know what this podcast is about and give them some of the quick takeaways from those first 10 episodes. That's exactly what this episode is going to be. Jack and I have went through, we've hand selected a couple key points and topics and themes from those first 10 episodes, and I'm going to share those in this episode. Now, I will add some commentary before each of those clips. This is a short episode, so these are not in-depth long clips, but we will reference what episode that is from. That way, if you do want to go back and listen to the full episode, you may do so. The goal of this episode, though, is ultimately, number one, for us to say thank you to you guys, the listeners, and number two, to bring you up to speed or give you a taste of what this podcast is about. So without further ado, let's start going through some of our favorite moments thus far. These highlights are in no particular order, but the first one comes from episode 9 on the concept of developmentors. Let's hear what Jack has to say about that.
If you think about it, you owe it to your team. Who would want to work for a leader who doesn't think they need to get better? So it's really important for your team. And then it depends. I mean, if you don't want to aspire to higher levels of leadership, that's fine. Then just make sure you're getting better for your team every day. But there's always these young aspiring leaders that always want to know how to become a VP or a president or whatever. Well, then this is part of their journey. They need to develop themselves so they can become whoever they want to be in their goals. So first and foremost, it's leading from the front. It's internalizing development of yourself in your career. And that's the big thing.
That's a great insight there. And the next highlight comes from that same episode. And this is an interesting concept on leadership stalking.
I would say great leaders should and do what I like to call leadership stalking. Now, Don't worry, Trevor, they're not going to end up in HR because of the suggestion.
Let's unpack this a little bit more.
Yeah. But leadership stalking is this. As a leader, you may or may not have a formal mentor. If you have a formal mentor that isn't your boss, that's fantastic. But sometimes you don't. But what I learned in my career is there's all these other leaders circling around you. Higher level ones, peers, inside the company, outside the company. Leaders are all out there and they're hovering around you. And each one of those leaders is great at something. And if you think about it, if you just study those leaders that surround you and watch what they do and determine what you think is their little superpower, what they're really good at, and each one will probably be a little different. If you just watch it, do the modern day, this thing, kind of stalk them and just admire and learn from others' behaviors, it's like free mentoring.
And then in episode 7, Jack gave us a reminder on the importance of the basics, communication.
The headline is this, that communication is one of those topics where nothing has changed. All of the foundational things we think about in communication for leaders is all the same. But it's also a topic in leadership where everything is changing.
So as Jack mentioned there in regards to communication, not much has changed, but also a lot has changed. And I highly recommend checking out that episode. We discuss in depth how that is changing, including things like communication on forums such as social media and the impacts that AI is having on that as well. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Now, the next one goes to episode 6, which is on trust and teamwork. And I love Jack's approach here of how he views trust as the ultimate contract.
The ultimate contract is no contract at all. It's just trust.
Trust.
Your relationship with your wife, your kids, your mother, your father, your best friend. It's trust. It's that bond that you know you have and will always be there. So how does that then relate to teamwork? Well, if trust is the ultimate contract in a relationship between two people, then it goes that it would probably be the best underpinning of high-performing teams. If you could get all the members of the team to trust each other and behave in a highly trustworthy way, right? That would probably be the best way to have the culture in the team perform.
Now, our next highlight comes from episode 5 on the topic and concept of quality and excellence in leadership. So Jack's going to explain here why that is important to embrace as a leader if we want to stay ahead of our competition.
Bottom line of competition is if you're not growing, you're shrinking, at least in market share. And if you're not getting better, you're probably getting worse. And it's with that thought process that I offer quality and excellence as something to think about to solve that problem, right? The problem of competition. So let's go there. So let's first imagine a manager, director, VP, that core of leadership that our podcast is targeted toward. We're not trying to teach CEOs how to get better. We're not trying to teach first-line supervisors how to crank out the stuff today, right? We're looking at that middle management group. And any of them. Take an accounting manager. What's their job? Okay, they're going to say their job is to, handle the debits and credits, collect the bills, do asset management, post things to the ledger and close the books at the end of the month. Let's say a design leader. Let's say a director of engineering. They're going to say their job is to develop new products in a timely way, on budget, keep the innovation going. Or lastly, maybe a VP of manufacturing, his or her job is to, produce all the products that need to be produced so that the revenue can be there, so that the monthly and quarterly targets are hit, and away we go. And in a way, they're right? These are all outputs of their job, right? But sadly, it just doesn't stop there. The more important part of what their leadership job should be is to improve those outputs and spend time daily, weekly, and monthly working on improvements so that the outputs keep getting better and better, not just happen in a consistent way. So, the sad part of the story is what got them into this output job, this leading the output job, is a set of skills that they're really good at, by the way. But the improvement of the output needs a set of skills, and they're different skills. And that's where quality and excellence come in. It's a set of skills and tool sets that help you do the quality and the excellence part so that your outputs get better.
Now, our next reflection comes from episode 5 on positivity, part 2. We broke that episode into 2 separate parts, but Jack has a really unique way of looking at errors when it comes to leadership.
An error, a mistake, or, a fault in the process, an error should be thought of as a gift. Whereas most of the managers say an error, a mistake, a fault in the process is a problem. Whereas the Japanese say it's a gift.
It's a gift.
And the gift is, it's a clue, and it's a way to start an improvement cycle to make things better. Because the error shows you where to look. shows you how to fix it. So it's just a brilliant way to take a negative situation and look at it in a positive light, of course.
What a great way and a great concept to think about errors and mistakes when it comes to leadership. Now, our next key highlight here is actually from our first episode, which is about being a role model. And Jack explains here why you need to want to be a role model in leadership.
You can't not want to be a role model if you're going to be in leadership. So that's the importance of being a role model. And then I thought I'd share today the way I think about what that means. And the way I think about role model is the first piece of it is a phrase we all have heard is walking the talk, right? In other words, there are company values and company strategic direction. There are leadership standards usually in a company that need to be followed. And the ultimate job of a leader is to walk the talk of those things, right?
I myself love the walk the talk analogy there. Now, our next highlight here comes from that same episode where Jack discusses the importance of passion in leadership.
I ran the automotive business for that company for a while, and I had people tell me, they said, we just love when you tell the story. And I'm like, so I'm just telling the story. You should know the story. But what they were saying is they loved when their leader told that story. When the leader was passionate about what he was leading. And that was my lesson. I didn't understand it at the time, but I reflect on it and I go, wow, that was what they were wanting as people working with me. They wanted to be inspired and they wanted to see my passion.
And our final highlight here comes from our most recent episode with our first guest, Beth Corral, episode 11, where Beth discusses this really interesting concept called the only.
I mean, number one, the only. Sometimes we're the only woman in a room. And there are a lot of people who are listening to this who might be the only, right? They might be the only engineer in a room full of salespeople. They might be the only person of color in a room full of white people. They might be the only woman in a room full of men, right? So there's a lot of the only that you can be. But to be the only woman in the room that's been something that I've dealt with for many, many years. My career is a 30-year career. I started at Hershey in 98, but I started in the connector industry in 94. And I would say maybe 8 years ago, I was in my first meeting with all women. And we looked at each other and we were like, oh my gosh, like we're in a room full of women. This has never happened before. And anyway, I mean, it was amazing, but it was also kind of sad that was the first time that happened.
So that'll wrap up this short episode full of some of the best takeaways, concepts, and highlights thus far. We do thank every one of you out there for listening to this podcast, for supporting us. It means the world to us. We're so grateful and thankful for that. We hope that we can continue to bring more value to you. Now, if there is any concept that you really enjoyed from this particular episode, we do encourage you to head over, listen to the full episode. They are bite-sized and short episodes, so you should be able to get through them quickly. And as always, if you have any concepts, questions, or topics that you want us to address on an upcoming episode, feel free to click the link in the description and we'll be happy to address that or answer that for you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Go lead.